You ready?
So good morning everyone.
Good
The
morning.
introduction will be given by my teammate Himanshu.
A very good morning to one of the all present on this here morning. We are very glad to have about this opportunity to present our opinion regarding the world's one of the most serious problem, malaria. I would like to introduce my team member.
Hello, myself Megha Samal from first year course. I am from the batch LA22212.
Myself Himanshu Indira Thorat from first cross LA22221. Today we would like to express the views and the opinion on this topic, genetics of the human as a hostage and the malaria and the genetics and epidemiology. So I would now like to invite the Megha to display the PowerPoint presentation of our topic.
Okay, so let's have a look at the presentation. What is malaria? Malaria is a life-threatening disease which is transmitted to the humans through the bites of the infected female mosquito. About 3.3 billion people, that is half of the world's population, are at a risk of malaria. This is how the malaria infects into the patient, into the human host. The human malaria disease is mainly caused by two hosts, that is a mosquito host and a human host. This slide represents the entire life cycle of the malarial parasite. This slide includes the genetics of the human host stage, like how the malarial parasite is injected into the human host and hence rupturing the RBCs and causing the malaria, and how does the human get infected with malaria actually. This is another slide that represents the life cycle of malaria, causing the various stages that can be erythrocytic stage, like here the first stage is the pre-erythrocytic stage that occurs in the human body. Erythrocytic stage, also known as erythrocytic schizogony, which will be explained soon after this. After that, we'll be explaining the malaria and genetics and epidemiology, that is how the malaria is spread into the entire globe, and many countries, especially Africa, that faces the major issues of malaria, and also India and many other countries. This is one of the WHO report of 2010 census that represents the number of malaria reported confirmed cases. This is the actual report of the WHO, and these are some of the facts of malaria. Cycle. That's it. Now we would be giving a brief explanation about both our topics, that is malaria as a human hostage, malaria as a genetics, and epidemiology. So hello everyone. Just imagine a cricket stadium of ICC World Cup 2022. I'm sure almost everyone must have watched it. A complete stadium filled up of almost 100 million people, completely packed, all people excited. Just take the number 100,000 million. Every year, these people for 365 days, get that total in your mind, multiplied by 5, and that will get to you up to 200 million people, 200 million people, and that is the number of the people every year are infected by malaria all over the globe. This is malaria is staggering indeed. All these patients, that are infected with the malaria are waiting outside the clinics for the doctors to be checked by, who are trying their level best in order to treat malaria and completely cure the malaria. But as we all know that malaria doesn't have any permanent cure. So the school going children are also infected with the malaria. This leads to a compromisation on the education. The school days are missed and education is repeatedly compromised by many people. The malaria is occurring over and over again, and it has been a major problem in the entire world. Now, the question that arises is what is malaria, and what causes malaria? what does actually happen to our body when malarial parasite infects our body? Why does malaria kill us? How does it kill us? What happens when exactly the malarial parasite injects into our body? This, before I start with the life cycle of the malaria, my teammate Himanshu will introduce you about the four species of the malaria and their incubation period.
The four phases of the Plasmodium vivax having the incubation period of the 14 days and causing the high fever after the 48 hours of interval. Plasmodium malaria having the incubation period of the 28 days and the high fever after 48 hours of interval. Plasmodium falciparum have the incubation period of the 12 days and causing the high fever at the irregular interval and leads to the formation of the gametocytes.
So let's start with the life cycle and understanding the life cycle of malarial parasite. How does it enters into the body? How does it infect the human host? And further on, how the person is completely infected with the malaria. So well, the story begins right from the female Anopheles mosquito that takes up the malarial parasite from the stagnant water body. Malaria is a vector-borne or a mosquito-borne infectious disease that occurs via a mosquito. So malaria occurs in two stages. That is, half of the cycle occurs in mosquito, while half of it occurs in the human body. So the case is, the mosquito takes up the malarial parasite from the stagnant water. This leads to the formation of gametes into the gut wall of the mosquito, and hence, after a few hours, fertilization of these gametes occurs in the gut wall of the mosquito, leading to the formation of a zygote. This then leads to the formation of oocyst. This oocyst then matures into sporozoites. These sporozoites are hence formed into the gut wall of the mosquito. These sporozoites are then transferred into the salivary gland of the mosquito, and now the the incubation period into the mosquito is completed, and the sporozoites are present, which is infectious in the mosquito that is present in the salivary gland. The mosquito containing the sporozoite is now containing the active malarial parasite. This mosquito, when bites another human host, will now transfer this sporozoites into the human blood via the barrier called as the skin barrier. Into the human RBCs through the bloodstream. These sporozoites will now go to the liver cells. Once it enters into the liver cells, these sporozoites will now attack on the hepatic cells of the liver, and hence in the liver it leads to the maturation of these sporozoites into schizoids. So the sporozoites are now no more sporozoites but mature into schizoids. Now this schizoid in the liver will transform into this schizoid will now mature into schizoid. This is called as the pre-erythrocytic stage that was occurring in the liver. Now the next stage that occurs is the erythrocytic stage, where actually the erythrocytes or the schizoid that will transfer into merozoites, and this merozoites ruptures and bursts out. These merozoites will now enter the bloodstream, and these merozoites are now converted into trophozoites. The trophozoites mature and become schizoid, and this cycle continues. That is, trophozoite to schizoid, schizoid to trophozoite, and as a result, the malarial parasite is finally injected into the human body. Thus, at this stage, we can say that the human is completely infected with malaria. Almost up to after 15 to 17 days, the human can experience symptoms like vomiting, nausea, and fever. Recurring fever can also be one of the major symptoms of this disease, malaria. I would like to add a fun fact about malaria and the relation of it to the sickle cell anemia. If a single gene of sickle cell anemia is present in the human's body, then that can be a prevention of that person to malaria. The malaria would not be able to infect that patient. While if there are 2 copies or more than 2 copies of sickle cell anemia present in a person, then that can be very dangerous for the person, and it can lead to the death of the patient due to malaria. The next part of our presentation is epidemiology, that will be carried out by my lab.
Epidemiology, this is a WHO report. According to the latest World Malaria Report, there was a 247 million cases of the malaria in 2021 compared to the 245 million cases in 2022. The estimated the number of the malaria deaths about the 19,000 in 2021 and 25,000 in 2020. Over the two peaks of the year of the pandemic, COVID-related disturbance in about the 13 million more high share to the global malaria burden. In 2021, the region was the home about the 95% of the malaria cases and the 96% of the death. Children under the 5 years of the age accounts about the 80% of the malaria deaths in the region of the Africa and accommodated just over the all malaria deaths worldwide in Nigeria and Democratic of the Congo. United Republic of the Tanzania and Nigeria over the last 2 decades expand access to the prevention of the anti-malarial drugs and has the major impact on the reducing the global burden of the disease. In 2021, 35 countries in 2000 countries that have achieved the list the 3 consecutive years and the zero immigration and causes the malaria are eligible to supply the WHO certification of the malaria elimination. The WHO Global Technical Strategy for the Malaria 2016-2030 is updated in 2021 and provides the technical framework of the malaria and in endemic countries. In this integrated to guide the support the regional and the country program as they work towards the malaria control and the elimination. The strategy steps to ambiguous to but achieve the global targets of including reducing the malaria cases incident at least by the 90% in 2030, reducing malaria mortality rates at least 90% by 2030, and the elimination of the malaria in least 35 countries in 2030. So preventing the research of the malaria in all countries that are the malaria free. It's our motive and this.
So finally we would like to conclude our presentation. Lastly, I would like to conclude with a very famous quote: prevention is better than cure. Instead of treating malaria after it occurs, it is far more better to prevent malaria. Prevention can be of many types, like putting up mosquito nets, using mosquito repellents, and one more major kind of prevention can be introduction of the gambusia fish into the stagnant water bodies. What it does is gambusia fish engulfs the stagnant water bodies so that the female Anopheles mosquito cannot take up the malarial parasite, and hence that can be very useful in preventing malaria. We can say that the deaths that occur due to malaria are unnecessary or avoidable rather, because malaria is treatable and in fact preventable. So it is the need of the hour to create awareness regarding malaria in order to eradicate malaria from the world, entire globe, and hence make the world malaria free in the upcoming years. The lack of prevention and the treatment of malaria can be due to many reasons like war, social instability, remote places, villages, etc., economic instability, and many others. But let's put a step forward in order to eradicate malaria and make the world malaria free sooner. So let's make a difference in many of the lives. Thank you.
Any questions, please, colleagues? No questions.
Okay.
All clear. Everything is okay.
My question to you: what do you know about vaccination against of malaria?
Vaccination against of malaria. There are many of the trials that are conducted for vaccination awareness in malaria. Like in India, there are certain period of time, like in June or July, where vaccinations are conducted, and people need to be vaccinated against malaria. In case of infants or small children, there are vaccinations that are prevented in the early 5 to 10 years of age, so that they do not acquire malaria. But since it is a staggering disease, there are many chances of malaria, of the people getting infected with malaria.
So in India, vaccine against of malaria is used. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, but we can't say that it is completely curable or completely preventable, because even after the vaccination is provided, there are many chances of the person to get infected with malaria, or when a mosquito repellent is, even after mosquito repellents are taken, there can be some chances of malaria, people getting infected with malaria.
Okay, thank you.
Very interesting. Which people need to vaccination in first time?
Sorry, ma'am?
which woman, children, pregnancy woman, who will vaccination the first?
The first vaccination is to be taken by the newborns, so that because their skin and their immune system is less developed as compared to the others. And another case in case of pregnant women, they are more sensitive, or they are more exposed to this kind of malarial parasite. So it is more important for them to be get vaccinated first rather than the other people, because their immunity system is much more stronger as compared to these two.
Okay, next question to you.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
know 4 species of Plasmodium, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the vaccine against of all species or against of each species, and we need 4 vaccine?
Yes, ma'am. We are not completely sure about the vaccines of the 4 species, but we can surely say that the vaccine against Plasmodium falciparum has been introduced or has been mostly given in India to the patients like the newborns and the pregnant women, because the most commonly caused or the most common infected species is the Plasmodium falciparum as compared to the other 3.
So in India, more often species of Plasmodium is Plasmodium falciparum.
Falciparum, yes, ma'am.
Very interesting was info about genetic mutations, but it was very small, not many. Tell what genetic mutation is undergo Plasmodium, human, or who?
Sorry,
Which
ma'am.
mutation?
No, in your report was information about genetic mutation.
Genetic mutation. Yes.
What type of
mutation?
organism undergoes these mutations?
Which type of organism?
Which type of mutation?
Not type of mutation, type of organism. It is Plasmodium mutation.
Plasmodium mutation.
Also have
Yes.
in organ.
What happens is Plasmodium female Anopheles mosquito that engulfs the malarial parasite. It depends upon the which type of parasite that it will engulf, whether it is a Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, or the other parasite, Plasmodium ovale. Depending upon that parasite, the specific mutations will occur in that cases. For example, if Plasmodium falciparum is taken up by the female Anopheles mosquito, then the life cycle appears like this, that the stages merozoid, schizoid are related to this type of species. But if another species is infected, then the genetic mutations may vary a bit.
What will drive drivers for these mutations? What will give factor risk of these mutations in Plasmodium?
What will
Driver of
what will drive? What is
driver
the
of
cause for this
mutations.
mutation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What
The cause for this mutation is how strong the parasite is. The effect or the incubation period of the parasite will determine that how fast it will drive into the body of the mosquito, or how fast it will multiply. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think this is questions was not very much but altogether you know very much. It was your topic or interest before previously.
Sorry, ma'am, I didn't get
This
you.
is topic about malaria. You prepare only for conference or it was
No, ma'am,
interesting
we
for
prepared
you?
only for the conference.
Very excellent.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Спасибо. Подождите, каждый отдельно будет.